Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be teaching you how to make block letters. And for a beginner, you're going to need 2B, ruler, and then pencil. So I'm using B pencil. Okay, now what I want you to understand is the driver. Let me use the term driver. The driver of block letter, block lettering is this column, okay, which the standardized rule is 3 by 5. Now what do I mean by that? Let me make it more clear to you. Now let's identify the column. I'm using 0 here, 1 2 3, and then on this side 1 2 3 4 5. So in another word, the height is 5, the length is 3 column, okay. But however, when it comes to M and W, the rule is actually bent, which becomes 5 by 5. But let's kickstart the construction. When we get to M and W, I'm going to explain how the column works. Okay, now on this side, let's construct letter A. Now on this side, we have 1 2 3 column, and here 1 2 3 4 5. Now this is the first thing you have to do is to note out this middle column, which is 2, from this upper side. You make a line from the beginning of the line to the end of the line on the second column. Now the first column from the bottom, you make the same line from the beginning of the line to the end part. The third column, you skip the second one, the third column. Now on this end, this edge and this edge, you construct a straight line to meet with the bottom one. Now this is where you need your ruler, a straight line. Okay, here we go. Now on this end too, another straight line. Now this same edge, you will construct another straight line to meet with these two edges as well. Okay, now you can actually stop it at the middle, or you let it join this, whichever one that actually places you. Now the second one goes this way. Here we go. Now on this note, you identify the middle of this column, then you make a straight line, and then here another one, and then we have our A. Okay, now let's move on to letter B. Now on this end from 1 to 5, you make another straight line. Then from 1 to 2, another straight line. From below 1 to 2, another straight line. Now on this end, if you want to make any curve from this outside part, you pick one edge to the other, this way or like this. So for the fact that I'm curving on this end, if you're making a bigger one, it is advisable to actually use compass. But this small column, you should be able to curve your letter with free hand. Then you come to this down part, you curve another one, then you have your curve. Now locate the middle of this 5, which is 3. Now locate the middle of this column here, which has it should be here. Now from this end, you make a curve, and from this end, you also make another curve. Okay. Now let's match this with this, and this with this. Now the middle parts. Now take note of this. Whichever time you want to make a curve in between column, like inside of the letter, you divide the height in each column in 2. Now let's assume this column now, the middle is somewhere here, the middle is somewhere here, and the middle is somewhere here. Now all you have to do is dotted parts, you curve them. Okay, now from here to here, you make another curve. And all we have left are just straight line. You take a straight line to this point, the same thing here, then you merge this with this. Okay, the same process here as well. Now let's take note of the middle of this line. Now let's make our curve. Now straight line here, here, and here. And we have our letter B. Now let's move on to C. Okay, now to construct C, G, O, Q, and S have almost the same pattern. Okay, now we have 4 edges here, which is here, 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 and here. All you have to do right now is to make a curve at this point. Then you move on to this one. You bring it down to this part. And the same thing here as well. Okay, now the same thing here, you construct another curve. And I take note, I said if you want to construct a curve inside of the letter, you divide the line of each column into two. Now let's take note of here, here, and here. Now we'll come down to this down part. Now all you have to do is these dotted parts, you make a curve to actually merge with themselves. Okay. Now at this point, you merge this with this, you merge this with this. Now I talked about the construction of O, Q, S, C, and G, that they have similar process. Now this is just the process. You can turn this to O, you can turn this to Q, you can turn this to S, G, and C. But right now we are constructing C. Now on this end, you merge this with this, and then you merge this with this. Okay, now on this other end, you locate the starting point and the ending line of 3 with a straight line. Now you merge this with this, you merge this with this, and we have our letter C. Now let's move on to D. Okay, now on this end from 1 to 5, another straight line here, and from 1 to 2, from this down part, a straight line. Then here also another straight line. Now on this part and this part, you make a curve this way. Now from here to here, you make a straight line. Now the inside part, like I've repeat this over and over again, you locate the middle of the line in the column. Okay, now the same thing here. Now because we are making our curve like this, so you merge this, you curve this to meet with this. Then you curve this to meet with this. And on this end, you merge this with this. And this with this. Now let's move on to letter E. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, letter E, there is no curve. It's a straight line or two. Okay, now from 1 to 5, you make a straight line. Then this upper part and here from 1 to 3, another straight line. Okay. Now at the middle we have about 1, 2, 3, 4 straight line, and which you are going to make the line from 2 to 3. Now it's time to match. Now on this outside part, now let's start from this outside part. You match the first column, you skip the second one. You match the third column, you skip the fourth one, and you match the fifth one. Now this inside part reverses the case. You skip the first one, you match the second one, you skip the third one, you match the fourth one, and we have our letter E. Almost the same pattern goes to F. Okay, now let's number our column. Okay, at first a straight line, then in E we actually make a straight line from 1 to 3, 1 to 3, but in F it is just from 1 to 3 up here. Okay, then the middle column is going to be 1, 2, 3, not 4. Then it's going to be from 2 to 3, 2 to 3, and 2 to 3. Then this down part, another straight line from 4 to 5. Now it's time to match. Let's match this bottom part first. Then we'll move on to the side. Let's take it from the outside part. You match the first one, you skip the second one, you match the third one. Okay, here you skip the first one, you match the second one, and that's all. Now let's move to G. Let's come back to C. This same process we used to start C is what we are going to use for J. Okay. Okay, at first we have to curve the 4 edges. Then the inside part, you just have to note it. Now you can curve. Let's match this with this, this with this. Now on this back side, you match the two together, these two together. Then this front side, you only match this upper part, just like you've constructed C. Now at this part, this is where you have to divide some columns into 2. Now divide this middle column, which is 3, into 2 lightly. Okay, now this second column in this one, you divide it into 2 lightly, and the fourth column divide it into 2 lightly. Okay, now you will not pick it from this part they actually meet down to this end, then you roll it. Okay, now from this point to this point, you make another straight line, and from here to here, you let them connect. Now on this knot, you match this with this. Then you have our letter G. Now H, it's straight line or true, no curve. Let's pick it from 1 to 5 on this end, then 1 to 5 on this end. Now the middle column you pick from the left and the right. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 5 to 4, 5 to 4. Now you have this. Now it's time to merge. Let's pick it gradually. The bottom part, you merge this, you skip this, you merge this. The upper part, the same process, you merge this, you skip this, you merge this. Now the middle part, you merge this with this with this. And as you can see, we already have our letter H. Okay, now let's move on to the next letter, which is I. Okay, let me keep them on the same line. And then here we go. Now let's pick it from this end and this end. Let's make a straight line from 1 to 3. Then on this last column, we make another 1 to 3. Now, a straight line in this form, we are going to use column 2. So on the right hand side and on the left hand side as well. Then the line is going to come from 2 to 4, 2 to 4. Okay, now here we go. From column on this end, you make a straight line down to this end. On this column, the same thing. Here we go. We have the same process. Okay, now the last part, which we are supposed to merge, which we have to merge rather, you merge this with this, this with this, this with this, and this with this. And we have our I. Then let's move on to letter J. Now let's pick it from the down part of it. Now here and here is going to be our curve. Then at the middle part, you knock them out, and then you make another curve. Now on this end, we match this with this, and then let's check this part of the column. You make another straight line. Here, you make another straight line. Now it's time to match. You match this with a straight line, this with a straight line. Now here we go. You connect this with a straight line. And we have our letter J. Now let's move on to the next letter, which is K. Okay, now you note the down part of 5, column 5, from 1 you skip 2 and then 3. The same thing here, 1 and 3. Now on this end, you match this edge with this edge and this edge with this edge. Okay, now here on this end, we have 5 columns and then the middle is just 3. You connect this one with this part and this one with this. Here we go. Now the last edge, it is advisable to locate the middle of this column. Then you connect this with these dots. And you connect this with these dots. And we have our letter K. And then on to the next letter. Letter L. Okay. Now let's note this down part. Let's start from this down part. Now we have column 5 from 1 to 3. Column 4 on the down part from 2 to 3. And column 1 on the upper end from only 1. Okay, now you match this with this, this with this, and this with this. And we have our letter M. Now here we go. The next letter is M, which I told you is 5 by 5. And this is where we break the standardized rule of 3 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. The same thing on this end. Okay, now take note of this. The down part will be where we're going to start working. Now, column 5, you merge the first column of 1, 2, you skip 2, then 3, you skip 4, and then 5. Now, on the upper end, you use 1 column till you get to the middle of 2. In another word, you are using 1 column and half. The same thing here from 5 till the middle of 4. Now let's construct our straight line on this end. Now it's time to match this end from 1 to 5. From 1 to 5. Okay, let's do that first. Okay, now we've actually matched these two together. Now we elevate this to 1, and we elevate this to down part of 1. Let me pick it up from here. And we elevate this to 1. Now the last part of it, now this will come this way, this will come this way, this will come here, and this will come here. Now let's do the practical aspect of it. Okay, now it's time for the next letter. Now on this end we make a straight down, we go back to our 3.5, 3 column by 5. Now this end we make a straight line, and from here to here another straight line. Okay, now on this part you pick the column 1 and 5 end, make a straight line on the first column, you skip the second one on the third column. The same thing here, first skip the second and third. Now to actually get this right, you have to check the middle of 5, which is 3, and here you note out the middle of this line in column 3. Okay, now all you have to do is to bring your this point down, this edge down to this point, this edge down to this point. Okay, or we bring this here and this here first. Okay, now since you have this, you now connect this point to this point to this. And we have our letter M. Let's move on to the next one. Letter O. Now, just like I said, C, G, and O have something in common. The starting process is the same. So you have to curve this edge. You have to curve this edge. You have to curve this edge and then this edge. Now the middle part, like I've always explained, you note the middle of the line that you want to curve. Now you curve this with this, and you curve this with this. Now you merge this together, and then here we go. This goes with this goes with this, same thing here and here. Let me curve here a bit. And we have our letter O. Then the next one is P. Now, on this end, we need a straight line from 1 to 5. Okay, now from this end, we need a straight line 1 to 2, and then from here to here a curve. From this column 2 another straight line, from here to here a curve, and from this column 3, the down part of 2, another straight line. Bring 4 to meet with 5, and you merge this end. Now the middle part of it, like I said, any curve at the middle, you will always divide the line of each column. Now let's note it out. Now you make your curve. A straight line, a straight line. Now the next letter Q, like I said, C, G, O, Q, and S have something in common. I believe you should be familiar with this construction because we've done it for 3 times. It has actually appeared here 3 times. Okay, now you construct O first. Now on this part, you make a slant line, diagonal line, which you connect this edge with this and this edge with this. You can see during my own construction, I never exceed the 3 by 5 column, which I try to manage to give you this stroke of Q. Now let's move to the next letter. Which is R. R and B have something in common. On this end, a straight line. 1 to 2, a straight line. Now let's go 3. Here, a straight line. Then you locate the middle of 3. This comes this way. Curve. This goes this way. Now from this end to this end, another straight line. Now this middle part, like I said, there will be a curve here. Locate the middle of this line, which gives the edge to curve from the middle. Then bring this downward, a straight line. Now match this with this and this with this. Then you have to provide another construction here. Now the column 2, a straight line. You note this, you note this, and you note this, and you make your curve. You match this with this. Okay, now let's move on to the next letter. Like I said, C, G, O, Q, S have the same pattern. Okay, now we repeat that pattern here again. A curve on 1, a curve on 3, a curve here, and then here. Curve this part as well, and then curve this part as well. Now, initially, the 4 letters we've actually constructed with this happens to only stop the curve here, but because our S goes this way, then you are going to bring the curve down to this end. Then you curve this. You're not going to complete a perfect circle. This starts here and this stops here. Now this starts here and it's going to stop here. You make another curve on this end. Okay, now let's merge this down part and this upper part. Just like C, no, they don't have something in common. C actually comes down than S. Now you divide the 2 column into 2 this way. Let this join with this. The same process goes to 4. Divide the 4 into 2. Let's merge with this. Okay, you bring this down to this end. You elevate this down to this point. Now it's time to match, and then we just finish the process. But before we match, let's extend this to this point and this to this point. Now we'll make a curve to match. Another curve to match. And then we have our letter S. On to the next one. Letter T. Okay, on this line you construct a straight line from 1 to 3. Second line, you note 1, you skip 2, you note 3. Then the down part of it, you note only 2, you skip 1 and 3. Now let's match. This goes with this. Okay, this goes with this. This also work with this. And lastly, this work with this. And we have our letter T. On to the next one. U. Okay, just like the down part of J, you curve this, then curve this. Match this together. Then on this end, you note 1, straight line, 3, straight line. Now it's time to match. Okay, this with this, this with this, this with this, this with this. Now V is more like you're turning A upside down. Okay. You note the down part of 5, which is the second column, the upper part of 1, first column, and the third column. Now it's time to match. This edge goes with this, and this will also go with this. Now on this end as well, this goes with this, and this will also work with this. And then we have our letter V. W. W is more like double of V. Okay, and we have two ways of constructing this, which I'm going to show you, and we'll make use of one. On the down part, you have to note 2 column. You skip the first one, you note the second one. You skip the third one, you note the fourth one. Now on the upper part is 3. You note the first one, you skip the second one, you note the third one, you skip the fourth one, you note the fifth one. Now the first process is for you to construct a V this way and another V this way, and another style is for you to construct a stroke from here to here, this to this. Then you now change, you slant it this way, diagonal line from this to edge down to here, from here down to here, 1 2, and you turn this way, 1 2. Okay, now I love this process, so I'm going to use this. Let's connect this edge with this edge first. Okay, this is the first one, and you connect the second one as well. Okay, slant line, diagonal line. Now the same thing goes from here to here. One more of these, we have our W. Already this I've actually given you a V. You've seen it. Now I'll connect this with this. And we have our W. On to the next one. Okay, now note the down part of 5 column 1 and 3. The upper part of 1 column 1 and 3. Now it's just like this. A diagonal line 3, column 3 works with column 3 of 1 works with column 1 of 5. Column 1 of 1 works with column 3 of 5. Okay, this goes to the and we have our x. Now 2 more to go. X and y have something in common. It's this or it's just this upper side. Then if you actually make a stroke here in the merge, you're going to have y. Now how do you go about that? You check 1 column 1 of 1 and column 3 of 1. Now the down part is not going to be the same thing with x. It's going to be the middle column only, which is 2. 5. Now at this point, if you check this, every stroke coming from this end meets at the middle of 3. Every stroke coming from this end meets at the middle of 3. You have 2 ways to construct this. Is either you note this and this first, which you connect this to the middle, or you act as if you want to construct x, this with this, then you stop at the middle line. Okay, and I prefer this because it's the best strategy. I won't make you make a mistake. Now this with this, you stop at the middle line. You can see they actually meet with the dot I've actually created. This with this works with this, and this with this works with this. Let's merge this with this and this with this, and we have our y. Here we go. Then the last but not the least, okay, now on this end you make a straight line from 1 to 3 of 1 and 1 to 3 of 5. Okay, now you go to the upper part of 5 and the lower part of 4. You make 2 to 3 a straight line, and here 1 to 2 a straight line. Merge these two, create a straight line on this column. A straight line on this column matches 2. You connect this with this, and you connect this with this. Okay, now this is how to construct block letters, and then our next video I'm going to show you how to construct numbers as well, and then show you what you can actually do with these numbers and letters block construction. Thank you for watching our video. Kindly press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.